So it's quite a popular place. And this special archway, it's termed to be as like a tripolia, three archways, and it leads to the Lake Pichola, and then it leads to a platform beside it that's termed to be as Gangor Ghat, because that's a Gangor festival organized from here. From past many centuries, and that's the reason it's becoming so popular, which actually comes in March and April, when they take out the like it's a religious ceremony dedicated to Isar Gangor, which literally means Shiva and Parvati, and they take out a procession on the boat. So it's one of the most popular again festivals, and it's also termed to be as Mewa Festival, which organizes during those days.
Okay, so this is Gangor Ki Haveli, and it's a very scenic spot, and a lot of pictures are made around this, in front of this particular Haveli. And Haveli incidentally means mansion, and also you see a lot of lattice work, and as well as on the windows and carvings, as well as you see a lot of intricate carving, which is very particular about the state of Rajasthan, that you will not find in other states of India.
Yes, sir.
This is Sayalo Ki Bari, which was built in between 1710 to 1735 by Maharana Sangram Singh. And it is very close to the Fateh Sagar Lake. It was built for 48 maidens that were living here, and also used mainly for relaxation and gossip and talk. Could you highlight us a little bit on the reason for building, and what was the purpose it served?
Vaibhav? Yeah. The name itself suggests like Sahelyon Ki Badi, which literally means garden for the maidens, and which actually, of course, been constructed for all those 48 women who were the part of the dowry during that time. And with the queen, they can come here, they can relax here, they can enjoy the time, and no men were allowed to enter the gardens because it's strictly meant for the ladies. And it's very beautifully been done. And as already been mentioned, that it's very close to the Fateh Sagar. So when you see these, it's more like a fountain garden. All around there are beautiful fountains being done with the copper pipes, which again dates back from 1710. They're still in working condition. In olden days, they used to work with pressure system, more like a gravitational force, like water coming from through the channels from the Fateh Sagar, which is also, of course, on a height of, as compared with this garden. And when the water used to flow around, the fountains used to work with pressure system, gravitational force. And that's one of the important feature to these gardens. It's very beautiful, more like a botanical garden also. It's quite small, but it's quite interesting because it's quite green, and throughout the time, like according to the season, right now the government is taking care, and they are taking care in quite a good way, especially in terms of organizing the plants and the flowers according to the season. So it's of course more like a interesting place. People can go there, they can enjoy the time, and it's quite soothing, especially when you are into the summers and when you see the water all around, because when the temperature is somewhere like 47, 48, of course, it changes the atmosphere once you enter the garden. So, of course, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, actually, whenever we enter, there is a mist, there is a fountain of spray of water that comes.
Very true, very true.
And all those fountains are still in working condition. And you feel very cool when you enter this place. And as you rightly said, that botanical gardens, there are various varieties of species of trees, plants, and flowering trees, as well as different birds.
Yes.
Our next slide is on the very famous Dolls Museum, or it's called also known as the Bharatiya Lokala Museum. It was built in 1980 and has a large collection of dolls, puppets, embroidery, painting on cloth, as well as they have some very delightful puppet shows, which you can watch when you enter this particular Lokala Museum. Depictions and folklore can be found in different parts of this museum. So the Dolls Museum, Puppets Museum, Bharatiya Lokala Museum is a place I've been to, and quite fascinated with all the offerings of this particular museum. And can you tell me something about the puppet shows? Are they based a lot on folklore, or there are different themes? What is the kind of themes that work in this museum?
Yeah, of course. Puppets, like all around Rajasthan, as they become a very part of amusement, you can say, because back in those days, those are the actual entertainment things which been introduced during the time to entertain the people or to entertain their royal guests. But puppets, especially, they have different stories, folklores, of course, but they also tells you a lot of stories related to some heroism or some battles being fought. So they tells you in a very beautiful manner, and at the same time, the music which they were doing with all sorts of local instrument, like especially they use a lot of called Ravanatta, which is a string instrument, and they use a lot by the tribals. Apart from that, when we are looking at these puppet museum or the Lokala Mandal, it's also very popular because in Udaipur, as it's been surrounded by part of the what it comes to be as the Bhil tribes, and they are very well known because for 14 to 15 days they actually organize a festival which is all termed to be as Gauri, and during that time they wear masks, and this museum itself very popular of showing those masks and what the purpose of that mask. So it's very much been into that tribal folk art.
And can you tell us a little bit about, this? I was just noticing that we use the name Maharaja all the time in different parts of India for rulers, but in your part of the land, they call them Maharanas.
Maharana,
What is
very
the reason?
true. Yeah, the reason behind it, it's very interesting. It's just a belief of the royal family or the rulers back in those days when it's been started. And the reason behind it, because when we talk about the Mewar territory, the Udaipur region is also known as Mewar, which literally means land of the hills. And they are very much being blessed and consigned by the Lord Shiva. There's a very well-known temple, like 21 kilometers from Udaipur, known as Eklingji. And they believe that he's the actual king, and on behalf of him, they are ruling this territory. Or so that's the reason Rana literally means like a minister or a custodian, and not as a king. So later on, they start taking the title and they become Maharana and not the Maharaja. So they still believe that for them, the king is Lord Shiva, the Eklingji. And
Okay.
still at present, on every Monday, the present Maharana, Arvind Singh Ji, he visit the temple every Monday. So it's a very interesting thing which they carried on, not as a ruler, but as a custodian.
Okay. So that is a very interesting explanation and observation. So they are basically the custodians of the land they rule and not the owners.
Not the owners, that's true.
Okay. And you have a long lineage of
Yeah,
huge number of dynasties, right? Through one lineage.
exactly. They belongs to, like, they dates back from 8th century, and the present one, he's the 76th descendant. So you can say they are one of the like longest surviving dynasty
Okay.
so far.
Wonderful. And this is the Mewar dynasty.
Mewar dynasty.
That's the Mewar dynasty. Okay.
Yeah, they started from Chittor. Like, you can divide Mewar dynasty with the 3 capitals. The first one was Eklingji or the Nagda, and the other one is Chittor. And then from Chittor, they moved to Udaipur in 16th century.
I think the Chittorgarh fort is one of the biggest forts or largest fort in India, I think.
Yes, you can say it's quite a huge fort, of course, yes. And,
it is a very huge fort.
Yes.
So we are at Shilpgram again. This is the, basically we talked about the craft village, and you were already being given an explanation, but I myself went there and I was quite fascinated. You see the different forms, folk dances from different parts of India. And that's the most interesting thing, because you can normally not see folk dances in many parts wherever you go. Like even if you were to go to, for example, to a city like Delhi, you will not see a folk art performance taking place on a regular or on a daily basis, like the one that happens in Shilpgram. See, so for example, as Vaibhav was mentioning, there is a very important Shilpgram Utsav, or a festival. And I also am quite fascinated by these folk and tribal dances. And if you see the, the schedule that is shown, that you will see that there are dancers from all over India. There is on 21st of December 2019, for example, number 5 was a Manipuri Ras dance from Manipur. Then you had a dancer from Sambalpur, which was in a place called Sambalpur in central India. Then you had somebody coming from Pung and Thangta, which is from northeastern India. So the same program, if you see, went on to 22nd, 23rd. They had very interesting programs. The Gangaur dance from Rajasthan. You had the Bihu dance from Assam. Then you had the Kalbelia dance from Rajasthan, which is mostly done in the deserts in Jaisalmer. Then you had the Kathak dance from Uttar Pradesh or Lucknow. And so you see this wide variety of dancers that you from all over India that congregate from the 21st to the 30th of December. You will also have dancers from Punjab, and you will have from Maharashtra where they do the Malkam. If you see on day 25, there's a Malkam dance item number 7, which is from the state of Maharashtra. And this is one of the most fascinating places because in one particular location, you can see so much of things happening from all over India. And I would highly recommend this to all people who want to go. Can you tell us, Vaibhav, whether there's going to be a festival this year?
Yeah, it's still not sure about because as the things are going on right now, they still are not showing anything in terms of still no sign of preparation going on.
Okay.
So still we don't know if it's going to take place or not.
Okay.
So the government hasn't decided yet. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's too early to say.
Too early
maybe,
to say, exactly.
Yeah, but maybe it will help. It will be held in February when the desert festival happens. So
yes.
They may combine it with the desert festival. We'll move to our next slide. Now, Udaipur gets very interesting, and all life surrounds is located on this lake Pichola. And if you see this particular set of bridges that we see are very typical of Udaipur, and this especially on the lake Pichola. And what I would you like to tell me, Vaibhav, whether the significance of these bridges, whether only connecting points or some other significant reason?
Yeah, you can say they are connecting point, but before that, when you get an idea, when you see the city around, and as we have many lakes, like 7 lakes around the town and 4 lakes into the main city, and they are all interconnected, interlinked. So water, and it's only like you can say it's just the monsoon water which fills the lake. And these bridges, when it's been constructed, they are like 4 to 5 bridges on the, of course, they are for interconnection to the old city area. And because of that reason, it's also termed to be a small piece of Venice, because the way it's been constructed, they actually gives you an impression of Venice when you are doing the boat ride and everything. It looks quite beautiful when you see this. So of course, yes, they are for interconnection things from the city area, but they also increase the beauty of the city as well.
Yes, one more thing is that this Lake Pichola, which is an artificial lake, which was built in the 17th century by a Banjara tribesman, has got a lot of interesting hotels on the banks. So I'm taking this picture from a hotel called the Lake Pichola Hotel. And this is bang on the lake itself. And, some of the most beautiful experiences of staying in Udaipur can be had by staying at the hotels, the resorts, and the Havelis, which are on the banks of the Lake Pichola. And I would strongly recommend, it's just a beautiful experience, almost surreal, because you see this wide expanse of the lake itself. Then you see the city palace. Then you see the most enchanting Lake Palace Hotel, the Taj Lake Palace, which is there, and some very beautiful, sites that you may not encounter anywhere. Now, this is a boat ride that people normally do on this Lake Pichola, and it's a very common feature of when you travel to Udaipur, is you always go on the low, excuse me, you always take a boat ride. And Vaibhav will tell you a little bit about this boat ride, where it starts and where it ends.
It's quite an highlight, especially doing into the, like doing the boat ride, especially during the time of evening, or you can say the sunset boat, changes the atmosphere, because what you have seen the city during the daytime, and when you are on the boat, it changes everything, the colors, the sun setting, and when you can hear, because there are lots of temples around, you can hear the temple bells, lots of activities going around the ghats, where you can see people taking a like swimming or taking a bath or certain things. And when you do the boat ride, it's these boats actually takes you. It starts from the palace only,